Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. So good morning to you, unless this is the afternoon when I upload this, or the evening when you watch it. Anyway, today's video, wanted to discuss my opinion after nearly 90,000 miles of ownership of Tesla build quality. Now, this has been a contentious subject, goodness, ever since Tesla started making the first gen Roadster, which I believe they made 2,600 of them. They were all essentially handmade. They had bodies and chassis delivered from Lotus in England, and then they hand built the cars. They were known to have quite the quality issues, and just being handmade cars by a company that really knew nothing about what they were doing. And the Model S had its share of teething problems, as did the Model X. And the Model 3 is known for some things. Also the Model Y, a number of build quality concerns have come up. And I wanted to address that. And first I want to say that there's always outliers. And what I mean by that is you're always going to have the 1/10 of 1% or whatever that of vehicles that never have any problems at all. That owner that buys a car and says, I've put 250,000 miles on this car, and seriously, nothing has ever broken. Wore out tires, wore brakes, but nothing has ever broken. Then you're also going to have that 1/10 of 1% that's going to say, the day I took the car home, a part fell off of it. The next day it wouldn't start. The next day one of the tires is flat. A week later one of the axles went, or whatever, where they've had nothing but problems. And that's what lemon laws, at least here in the States, exist for. But excluding the outliers, when you look at averages, when mathematicians look at averages, they eliminate the highs and lows, the outliers, and you look at the bulk of the data. So, and I believe my car falls in the middle of that bulk of the data. Now, I'm not going to address specifics for every car. I want to give you guys my personal experience. And first off, I will say that I am a bit of a Tesla fanboy. I own one after all. I stood in line and waited for mine, pre-ordered it and all the rest. I have my channel based on Tesla. But I'm not a fanboy in that I don't stay silent about issues that I've had with the car. So I've had a few mechanical issues with it, but I would actually like to put nearly all of those on my own shoulders. I've had worn ball joints at the knuckles at the rear, but my car's been lowered, and I've got wider than stock wheels back there. And for the bulk of the car's life, I didn't have adjustable camber arms, so the lowering cambered the wheels in, and with the extra wide wheels, put extra stress on the upper ball joints, so they wore out. That's on me. Now, I did have a driver's side upper control arm. It didn't go bad, but it was making a creaking noise. It wasn't sloppy and worn, actually the opposite. They get a little bit tight over time. I don't know if they weren't lubricated well from the factory, or the tolerance wasn't good or something, but the ball joint in the driver's side upper control arm on Model 3s is known to creak when you go over bumps. And so I got one and replaced it on my own. The car was out of warranty at the time. So there was that issue, kind of a minor thing. And now the big thing that I will say is about build quality is paint. One of my more recent videos, I repaired paint that had sort of sandblasted itself off to the very front, right behind the front wheels, behind the front tires, and just the road debris from the tires had blasted the paint off. Unacceptable. That is totally on Tesla. That is unacceptable. And here's the thing, though, and I don't want to be too forgiving of them, but admittedly, my car's got nearly 90,000 miles on it. So it took some time for that to occur. Number two, I probably could have pressed Tesla to take care of that for me, but there's a couple things. Number one, I was capable of correcting it on my own and bringing the car in, getting a loaner, going back. Tesla service centers are all about 45 minutes away from me. It would kill almost as much of my time as just fixing it on my own in my own driveway. Plus, I get the experience of doing it. Number two, my car's going in next spring or summer to Custom Classics, a local shop that has repaired a couple dings or a couple dents in the car for me being run into over the years. It's going in to have them go over the car. I want, when the car has 100,000 miles on it, I want to have the car look brand new, basically. So I'm going to bring it into them anyway, so I figure they can go over it and correct the issues. But that is true that there are known paint concerns with Model 3s. Each one of the cars that Tesla has manufactured over the years has had sort of their known niggling issues. And here's the thing though, this video comes up partly because of a comment that I got on my rust repair video, paint repair video. There was a guy that chimed in. I finally blocked him because it was just getting ridiculous. That he says, oh, you know, what a you know, crap quality. I have 120,000 miles on my Honda. It doesn't have these issues, you know. Okay, it doesn't have these issues, but it has others. So he and I went back and forth, and ironically, he's sending me links to online articles about Tesla build quality problems, and that's fine. I read his links, but then I sent him links regarding Honda quality problems, and he refused to read them. And on top of that, he refused to address, I addressed his statements to me, but he never addressed my statements to him. And that is evidence of an unteachable person. When you're having a discussion or a debate with somebody and you're willing to address their comments, research what they've told you to research, but then they ignore your comments and refuse to address them, that's just an antagonistic person that is not looking to be educated. It's almost like a political argument. You're generally not going to sway anybody from their political party. They're going to be blind to the way they are. And I admit that I tend to be this way at times as well. I'm not necessarily 100% teachable. I'd like to think that I'm teachable in many ways, but I'm not 100% teachable at times either. So please recognize that I understand that when I'm pointing a finger, there's three more pointing back at me. That being said, though, I wanted to address it. So I told this individual, I said, hey, we had a 2017 Honda, a lot newer than his, 4, 5, 6 years newer, whatever it was, than his, and yet ours had quality issues. We had a 2017 Civic Si. I loved that car. We traded it in on our BMW convertible because convertible, but I loved that car. It was relatively quick, stick shift, a lot of fun to drive. It was lightweight. The car was a hoot, but it had its issues. Did it have paint flaking off from road debris like this car? No. But what it did have was body panel alignment issues. I mean, the panel gaps, I don't want to say they were horrific, but they were a lot worse than this car. And the plastic front and rear bumpers. When I bought the car, the paint matched perfectly. But in the year that we owned it, before we traded it in, the white paint on the front and rear bumpers, and no, they were never resprayed. The car never had any, was never in at the shop for anything. But the front and rear bumpers, the paint started to yellow because it's yellow plastic. I'm assuming it's yellow plastic underneath the paint, and the paint was yellowing. It got to the point where you walk up to the car and go, whoa, bad body work, is the way it looked, because the bumpers were yellowing so bad. And I asked Custom Classics about it, and they said, yeah, just, you know, modern cars, man, it's the way it is. Well, this car doesn't do that. The plastic front and rear bumpers on this car, the paint hasn't yellowed. You can't tell that the bumpers are a different material, plastic on the bumpers and steel on the body. The paint looks great between the two. The paint finish is really good. It's got this, it's not just a straight white. Our Honda was just a straight white. This is like a pearl white with some metal flake in it. Oh my gosh, it's gorgeous. So I think what it is that they're using eco paint, and that eco paint has, I mean, it's great for the environment, but it tends to not adhere quite as well. And but there's also what I tried to explain to that individual, and almost every video that I put out, I get into one of these same discussions with somebody. And what I try to explain and nobody ever understands is that things like paint quality is not indicative of mechanical design. And that's where this individual with the Honda was completely off base. His assumption was because there's a couple paint issues, the car is built like a piece of crap. Well, good grief. I mean, you can have a Lamborghini with a bad paint job. You know, so it was interesting. And I said to him, do you own a Tesla to make a personal judgment like that? I do, and I've taken mine apart several times. And I've had it in it at a couple different shops, mainly for the body work when I've been run into a couple of times, who've taken it apart. And I've noticed, and they've noticed, that the individual component quality of this car is fantastic. The design is fantastic. I think where Tesla falls down, and they're not alone in this, is in trying to push for high production numbers to make it through a given quarter, and you know, with high delivery numbers and whatever. And it is the assembly that tends to be a bit of an issue. And I know right now there's people typing away in the comments section going, but assembly, I don't want a car that was assembled bad, you know, whatever. Well, again, there are outliers, and most of those are outliers. You hear about, you know, someone says, well, this happened or that happened, whatever. Okay, I get it. We've had issues too. We've had two Toyotas. I had one Toyota that had some pretty serious issues. Toyota's known for their build quality. You know, I mean, it's every item designed and manufactured by human beings is flawed. Now, we have had many cars over our lives, and we've had so I'll compare this car to my previous car. My previous appliance repair service vehicle was a 2013 Ford C-Max Hybrid. Loved that car. I put nearly 200,000 miles on it. My adult son currently owns it, and it's got 212 or 214,000 miles on it at this point. And I love that car, but it was definitely not problem-free. I mean, there's rust starting around the fender edges, and I've replaced brake rotors a couple of times on it, not because of wear. As a hybrid, it was mostly regen, but the surface, the rotors were delaminating and chunks were falling off of them. I had to replace rotors a couple times. All the wheel bearings have been replaced, and now the rear wheel bearings need to be replaced for a second time. The transmission, which is merely a reduction box from the engine and electric drive unit combination, there's a chain drive, kind of like a cam chain, down to a differential. That chain has slop. You can feel it. You accelerate, and you can hear and feel kind of a sound from the chain. You decelerate from the chain inside that housing. I mean, it's had electronic glitches that had left me stranded. I had to disconnect the 12-volt battery, which is not an easy task. It's in the trunk. You got to dig for it, or there's also a connection up front by the fuse box. Not an easy task, and I had to do that twice. That the car just it wouldn't. The car wouldn't come on. I had to disconnect the 12-volt battery, let it sit for a bit, reconnect it. The car had numerous recalls it had to go back for. You know, my wife, yet I still love the car because it served its purposes very well. My wife had a 2014 Ford Fusion all-wheel drive, great car. That car had its issues. It was delivered. There were a couple of minor problems, basically right at delivery, that they corrected for us. And it had numerous recalls. We had a broken sway bar link. I did the brakes on it a couple of times. It would occasionally stumble while running, and that was under warranty. They never figured it out. Out of warranty, I never had a mechanic able to figure it out. We had a fuel tank vent go bad. I mean, that car had its issues too, and we got rid of it just shy of 90,000 miles. We sold it, but we still like that car. I recognize, as I do appliance repair, but also I'm a bit of a mechanical engineer, self-taught. Doing mechanical engineering work and fabrication, I have a better understanding of what it takes to manufacture something problem-free than many people. And I'm probably more forgiving because I recognize that, my gosh, to make a product that will, go the tens of thousands of miles that we drive them really without much, if any, issues, and go hundreds of thousands of miles with proper maintenance is amazing to me. So all of this to say, has Tesla had some teething problems? Absolutely. Will they continue? Yes. Every single auto manufacturer has issues. Are Teslas worse than others? Depends on the category. Depends on the category. I mean, if you're looking at drive unit failures, the Model S had a few. They warrantied those until they redesigned the drive unit, but they were warrantying all of them. The Model 3, there's a couple online out of the whatever 500,000 or something of the Model 3s that have been delivered, but that's pretty rare. You want to talk about Hondas? Hondas had bad engines for quite some time. Back in the early 90s, I bought a new Saturn, and the salesman that sold me the car said he drives an Acura, and he said it's a Honda product, and he said, I don't know that I'm too proud of that. He said, don't let people tell you Hondas are the greatest. They have all kinds of engine problems. He said, when I was at the Honda dealer, oh my gosh, did we have engine problems. So, I mean, every manufacturer is known to have issues. For a long time, Subaru was known for their extreme reliability. Well, if you're abreast of what's going on just in the auto industry as a whole, Subaru's been having head gasket problems, which is a big issue with an engine, head gasket problems. So, Teslas, for the most part, have very reliable batteries, inverters, motors. They tend to not leave you stranded. The issues that Teslas have are things like Model S's had bad door handles. They had some drive unit issues, but that was noise in the drive unit. It didn't leave the car stranded. And again, they warrantied those. Model 3. Beautiful blue. But Tesla problems tend to be, yes, paint or body panel alignment, that kind of thing. So none of those leave you stranded. And many of those you can catch either on delivery day and point it out, or there's something that Tesla would correct later on. And I know right now also there's people in the comments section typing in, oh, but what about the stories of guys at their service center wouldn't take care of them? Yeah, there's also bad dealerships too. There have been a couple dealerships in our local area, and if you're local to me here in Northern Illinois, you'll know the ones I'm talking about, that have closed down because of poor service of other brands. So, so I go back to, it's a machine. And also, for some reason, Teslas are held to a higher standard. I've addressed that in previous videos. For some reason, people look at Tesla as though, their poop don't stink. Like they were designed by the gods and brought down on a pillow from heaven by God's holy hand, and that they were blessed. And good grief, Teslas are cars, man. They're cars made by human beings. Watch Rich Rebuilds. He rebuilds Teslas. And, he shows you, it's a car, man. It's a car. You can take it apart with normal tools. I've been working on my Model 3 for a while now. I've had a number of videos of working on it. You use tools, you take it apart, you work on it. It's a car. So people need to stop looking at Tesla as this all-holy entity and recognize that a Tesla is nothing more than a machine made by human beings that has potential issues like any other machine, that there will be outliers, there will be situations of extreme unreliability, but there's also situations of extreme reliability with every product out there, including products that are known to be very unreliable. I mean, downright piles of garbage. Over the years, some of those cars have proven to serve some of their owners very well. So anyway, that's my opinion on it. You guys can squawk at me all you want, but I'm speaking from personal experience with my personal car with nearly 90,000 miles on it, not on my own assumptions and what I might have read on the internet. I'm speaking from personal experience. So anyway, that's it for me for today. If you guys have any questions, and I'm sure there'll be a bunch, leave them in the comments section below. Let the flame war begin. So anyway, thanks guys. As always, stay charged. Bye-bye now.